TMSA, the Tanker Management Self-Assessment Guide, was produced by OCIMF in 2004 for tanker operators. The aim was to help vessel operators improve their management systems by providing a framework for self-assessment and guidelines for best practice. A second edition was published in July 2008. The origins of TMSA lie back in the early 1990s. After a number of oil pollution incidents, the ship operators' customers, the major oil companies and others, realized that they needed a better way of checking the ships carrying their cargoes. The existing operational practices didn't seem effective in maintaining the operational quality of these vessels. The oil company's aim was to reduce the risk of their cargoes being spilt and, in the case of an incident, demonstrate due diligence in selecting ships for charter. Although OCIMF members had been risk assessing vessels for some time, each oil company had its own system with its own priorities. This meant that the vessel operators were not clear what was required, and that each chartering department had to inspect every ship it was interested in. This led to a huge duplication of effort. So the SIRE system was developed by OCIMF. Under this program, the members agreed to inspect ships to a uniform set of questions. A vessel operator requests an inspection for their ship from an OCIMF member. After the inspection, the report is sent to the SIRE computer. It's held for up to 2 weeks for the vessel operator to respond. After that time, the report is available to all subscribers to the SIRE system. This includes oil companies, oil terminals, and others, such as port state control organizations. The SIRE system brought a welcome standardization to tanker vetting inspections.
I can demonstrate to you.
It continues to be a force driving the improvement of tanker shipping.
Okay, just explain to me.
However, a SIRE report, effective though it is only a snapshot. It can only show how a ship was being operated on a particular day. OCIMF members believed that to help ensure the safe carriage of their cargoes, more information was needed, especially for long-term charters. For over the long term, what really mattered was how the vessel was being managed by its operator. Many ship operators managed their ships safely, but safety management became mandatory with the introduction of the International Safety Management Code, the ISM Code, in 1998. Its objective was to promote sound management and prevent pollution. But OCIMF members believed that it did not contain enough detail to enable all ship operators to improve their safety management systems. Although operators complied with the ISM code, they used a wide range of management systems. Tanker operators were often uncertain what management systems their customers wanted. So, to fill these needs and to improve management standards, TMSA, the Tanker Management Self-Assessment System, was produced under the OCIMF banner. The second edition was published in 2008. It incorporates updates and improvements. The aim remains to provide a tool to help vessel operators to assess, measure and improve their own safety management systems. TMSA is made up of 12 elements. Element 1 is management, leadership and accountability. Element 2 is recruitment and management of shore-based personnel. Element 3 is recruitment and management of vessel personnel. Element 4 is reliability and maintenance standards. Element 5 is navigational safety. Element 6, cargo, ballast and mooring operations. Element 7 is the management of change. Element 8, incident investigation and analysis. Element 9, safety management. Element 10, environmental management. Element 11, emergency preparedness and contingency planning. And Element 12, measurement, analysis and improvement. These elements are the foundation of TMSA. Each element has a main objective, and many are subdivided to cover different aspects of the fundamental topic. So, Element 3 is divided into 3, which concerns the competence of crew members, and 3A, which deals with leadership and the promotion of safety. Many of the elements are subdivided in a similar way. Each element contains key performance indicators, KPIs. These provide objectives which can be used to measure management performance. Associated with the KPIs are best practice guidances. These give guidance on how to achieve the KPI. For example, Element 4, Reliability and Maintenance Standards, has 3 KPIs, each with its own best practice guidance. Each element has a further 3 stages, which are progressively more demanding. Stage 1 is seen by OCIMF members, the customers, as a basic minimum. Stage 2 is seen as a big step forward for the vessel operator and is considered important for long-term charters. Stage 3 indicates a mature management system that has mastered the basics. Stage 4 requires effort and resources to achieve and is what operators should aspire to. Each stage has its KPIs and best practice guidance. For example, Stage 3 of Element 3A, Recruitment and Management of Vessel Personnel, has 4 KPIs and is supported by 3 items under best practice guidance. Stage 4 of Element 10, Environmental Management, has 3 KPIs, each with its best practice guidance. Overall, there are over 240 KPIs. The aim is for vessel operators to measure their own safety management systems against the KPIs. The results can be used to develop an improvement plan. This improvement is to be achieved through a continual cycle, starting with planning using TMSA guidelines as targets. acting by communicating the plans and putting them into practice, measuring by checking and evaluating the feedback on the results achieved, and then improving by putting things right where necessary. The emphasis is on finding long-term solutions rather than quick fixes. Many operators already had management strategies similar to those detailed in some parts of TMSA. But now, TMSA as a whole is expected by OCIMF members for all operators of vessels carrying their cargoes, vessels carrying cargoes for them, and for vessels loading and discharging at their terminals. This includes the great majority of petroleum cargoes. So although TMSA is not mandatory, it has become essential for most vessel operators. When TMSA was introduced, it was a radical new departure for the shipping industry. It gave vessel operators the guidelines of a formal management system. TMSA is aimed at the managers in the shore office. It will mean little extra work for those on board. They only need to ensure that they follow the procedures set out by their shore office and take records to show that they are doing so. TMSA is very different to SIRE. In the SIRE program, the oil company's inspector views the ship. Once the operator has had up to 2 weeks to respond, the report becomes accessible to all SIRE subscribers, including other oil majors, terminals, and port state control organizations. With TMSA, the operator assesses their safety management systems by checking the records, processes, and compliance policies from both their ships and their offices. They compare the results with the TMSA KPIs and assess what stage they have achieved in each element. This assessment is put into their TMSA submission in a standard OCIMF format. The operator sends their submission via OCIMF to selected companies. Unlike the SIRE system, neither OCIMF nor anyone else has access to the submission unless the operator sends it to them.
Look at the KPI in each of those.
It is crucial to their customers, the OCIMF members, that the operator's TMSA self-assessments are as honest and accurate as possible. If a company's TMSA self-assessment is high, but SIRE inspectors or office management audits keep finding deficiencies, it will be obvious that the management system is not up to the standard claimed.
Once in a while we are audited by oil major inspectors and they question us.
TMSA is intended to benefit ship operators who are trying for operational excellence, rather than just doing the minimum required by legislation. TMSA 2 is an improved version of the initial TMSA guide. It has been improved taking into account the suggestions of vessel operators, both ship and barge. It has been made more appropriate for use by small companies. Many of the KPIs and best practices have been updated and reworded, and some 50 stages rearranged. The software has been made more user-friendly. The overall aim remains to provide a set of guidelines to enable operators to manage their ships their own way. It provides them with a method to measure and so improve their management.
As charterers, we don't want to get involved in the internal management processes of companies. The whole point of TMSA was designed to design a framework and tool that would allow ship management companies to work on their own processes, improve their own processes in a way that suits them, their own culture, their own organisation, their own resources, their own personnel. We don't want to instruct them on that. All we want them is to do it properly and do a high quality operation.
TMSA did provide some challenges for tanker operators at first. Some saw it as an imposition, but many realised its potential to help improve their management systems and demonstrate this to their customers.
TMSA has a lot of benefits, and I believe it's definitely changed the way we are operating our ships. TMSA has given the tanker industry a whole set of best practice guidance, and has given the tanker industry a whole lot of KPIs. The KPIs we had were, for example, bunker and speed consumptions, the number of personal accidents, the number of non-conformity reports we received. The other KPIs would have been to do with safety-related issues. But what TMSA has given us is a whole load of other KPIs which we can look at. So I do believe that TMSA is benefiting us as a company in operating the tankers in a more efficient manner and a more safe manner. With each of these elements.
The initial submission does require some additional work. The company's operational procedures and practices, together with records of compliance levels, need to be checked against the operator's own system, the mandatory requirements and the TMSA KPIs.
It will take some time before those things can be incorporated on all ships.
A good place to start is with a gap analysis to identify deficiencies. This means sorting out what systems are in place, finding out how well they are complied with, and comparing these with the TMSA KPIs. This review is sometimes carried out internally, sometimes by an external consultant.
An external consultant carrying out a gap analysis for TMSA for an operator has no conflict of interest. Such an analysis can be a totally impartial, independent and cold eyes look at that operator's management system. He can add value to the system by bringing his experience from industry that he's found in doing other gap analyses, how people are addressing similar problems, in reaching the expectations and conformance to TMSA.
We didn't think of getting an outside consultant to do a gap analysis between our existing system and TMSA. We believe we have enough talent internally to do that. So we have been using mind mapping techniques for some time in the various disciplines of ship management, and we thought we would do mind mapping to find our gap between our existing safety management system and the elements of TMSA where we wish to be. So we got together over a course of a couple of weeks, the managers of the various departments and the directors. We took out our safety management system and we went through it bit by bit in detail to see where we were and where that compared with TMSA. We then decided that we agreed at what stage we were at TMSA and whether we were happy at that stage or we wanted to progress to a higher stage. And that is where we believe gap analysis helped us to progress into higher stages of TMSA. We've done a gap analysis
Once a gap analysis has identified the areas needing improvement, then action can be taken. Resources can be devoted to improving the weaker areas of the TMSA submission. There do seem to be some elements that pose particular challenges.
We found that The most challenging aspect of TMSA was to get a consistent system of such reporting. The various groups in the company, the various fleets had their own systems. Some of the technical superintendents had their own personal systems of maintaining these records. And we found the most challenging thing was to get a common database together for the various reporting systems, be it post-state control inspections, be it internal audits of the company, external audits of vessels, external audits of the company, all major vetting inspections, a common format so that we could get across the fleet trends. And I found that that was one of the most challenging things to get. We went about deciding how we wanted it presented. We have an IT department in the company. We asked them what they could give us. And between technical and the IT departments, we worked out programs of how best we could have records kept which were consistent across the board amongst all groups in the company.
Element 7, the management of change, is one element that needs special attention. Any change in any area of the business can present a new hazard with a new risk. All changes need to be planned and monitored in a structured way, and the risks properly assessed.
Certainly element 7, management of change, has been quite a challenging element to introduce. Whereas management of change always formed part of our management in the past, we were now required to document this management of change in a slightly different way. Now we have to demonstrate at which level of management of change has been considered, what impact the management of change has had on the business or will have on the business, what safety impact it will have, conducting a risk assessment against the management of change, what control measures we need to put in place, and if any training is required.
This means having established levels of accountability and reviewing decisions in all areas of the operator's business. Decisions cannot be made in isolation, on the spur of the moment, without review.
The difficulties that ship operators have in conforming to the aspirations of TMSA Element 7 are a general reluctance to have a systematic process to manage change. Every change to equipment, to procedures, to structure, to personnel, and even to the organisation introduces a potential hazard and should be risk assessed, particularly temporary changes. And generally speaking, the ship managers, the tanker operators, have been reluctant to systemize these processes other than the big ticket issues such as new buildings, introducing a new ship into the fleet or buying a ship, that type of thing. Whereas it's as important to address these much smaller items, which can actually be more hazardous than the big ticket ones.
When TMSA first came in, the most difficult element, I believe, was element 7, that's management of change. It was, quite frankly, a new terminology for us. What is management of change? It took us some time to actually understand what is required by TMSA in this element. Now some time has gone by since TMSA came in, and I believe management of change has become easier to understand and implement. The current challenge, I believe, is element 3, recruitment. There are a lot of shortages of experienced people at sea, and fulfilling TMSA stages in recruitment and retaining staff, training of ship staff, I believe is quite a challenge now.
Once an initial submission has been made, then reviewing it regularly is much less demanding. It will need to be reassessed regularly.
The vessel operator, in reviewing his submission, should be open and conservative in responding positively to the TMSA indicators. He should positively ensure that any of his answers are fully supported by documented systems and historical evidence that those systems are actually operating as intended. He should not exaggerate or overstate his level of conformance, because the oil major charterers, particularly, can review their performance records of his fleet and very rapidly identify where his systems are actually not delivering the results that he claims they're intended to do.
The TMSA submission is an extremely important commercial document for the tanker operator because it helps define the company for its customers.
Senior management involvement in the TMSA submission is very important. The TMSA is used by the commercial departments to differentiate one company from another, and is also used in the selection of ships for business. The involvement of senior management in the TMSA submission and its development is also very important in demonstrating to the operating teams within the company the management support for the changes that are needed and the changes that are being implemented.
The TMSA stage level is an important indicator of the business objectives of the operator.
If we go back to the 12 elements of TMSA and break them up into the sub-elements, there are 23. We have an even spread of stage 3 and stage 4 between these 23 elements, so to speak, the sub-elements. When we do review, we would be trying to get some of the elements into stage 4. But being at stage 4 across the 12 elements is not very practical for a ship manager. Oil majors would like to have stage 4 when they want to charter a ship for long term. They don't do many charters for long term. It is expensive. It is resource-wise, people resources, economic resources, difficult to be across the board in all elements at stage 4. So we at the moment are quite comfortable with what we have, the spread of 3 and 4.
Yeah, tanker operators shouldn't be in a rush to be at TMSA stage 4 conformance. For every positive answer they give to the TMSA KPIs, they should ensure that they have fully justified results. They should have systems, documented systems in place, and have the necessary evidence to demonstrate that those systems are operating as they should and as intended on both their ships, and that people on board the ships and in the office fully understand them, and they are starting to deliver the desired results.
Seafarers work in a very dynamic environment. They are very good at fixing things when they go wrong and reacting to changing circumstances. They are often less focused on analysing the root causes of problems and preventing them occurring. That requires proper management procedures. This includes taking records from each ship in the fleet. The personnel on the shore need to compile, analyse and store this information. They must evaluate it and work out where problems are likely to arise in future. The results must be communicated to the entire fleet. After any incident, those on shore must take action to prevent it happening again in the fleet.
It is very important that in developing systems that meet the aspirations of TMSA are developed with the full involvement of all departments within the operator's office, and with the assurance that they are all bound by a commitment to practice what has been put in place. Frequently I have found that systems have been developed by safety and quality departments without the full commitment of perhaps the technical or crewing departments, who do not always follow those documented practices when issuing instructions to the vessels. And this sends conflicting signals to the ships about what is the requirement of the office.
Once established as an essential part of an operator's management systems, TMSA may well lead to cost savings. It will show operators where they need to devote resources to improve the safety performance of their fleet. TMSA obligations can also be cross-referenced with quality, safety, and environmental management standards. These can all be integrated into one entire management system by the operator if they wish.
Operational safety, I believe, has increased. Operational efficiency has increased. This is reflected because the office has assessed itself to be at certain stages of TMSA, and that is reflected on board the ship. So when we do go on board, the superintendent, the technical superintendent or the training superintendent goes on board, he is aware of the stages we have to be at and whether that's being reflected on board. So there has to be a lot of interaction between the ship staff and office staff with TMSA. And I think that has helped a lot in improving the safety record as well as operational efficiency.
OCIMF members trade enormous quantities of oil worldwide. Their dealers buy it, then refer to their charterers to find ships for it. A department like this requires many voyage charters every day. The charterers find ships according to the company's selection methods. These will include age, type, and any previous record of chartering. The charterers refer a list of possible ships to their vetting department. The vetting department will carry out a risk assessment of the ship selected by the charterer. There is often little time to decide which ship should be selected. The priority is safety and operational excellence.
The role of the vetting department is really to balance the risk of using a particular ship against the reward of using that particular ship. The charterers would always want us to use the cheapest possible ship because that maximises their profits and is good for the corporation. The way we look at risk is very much down to the nomination and the title to the cargo. So the risk of a vessel being chartered is probably less than the risk of a vessel on a carriage insurance and freight arrangement, because we as charterer can tell the ship where to go. If somebody else is chartering the ship, but it's actually our cargo and we're still responsible for it, then we don't have any control on that. So that's a much greater risk. The lowest risk is at a third-party ship and a third-party terminal, but we are either selling the cargo to somebody else or buying the cargo from somebody else. And those circumstances, the same ship may pass the vetting for some nominations, but be rejected for others.
OCIMF members are continually looking at ships, gathering and examining information on them. The factors will include the operators and ship's chartering history, port stay control detention of any of the operator's ships, any incidents reported by Lloyd's, SIRE inspection reports, and TMSA. Some of this selection is done by computer, and some by the individual ship vetter. It varies from OCIMF member to OCIMF member. Each OCIMF member has their own priorities in vetting. The operator's TMSA submission is likely to be important in producing the risk factor.
Both SIRE and TMSA are complementary in the fact that SIRE shows the situation as it is, point in time on the ship, and TMSA shows the theory of how the company thinks it's actually managing the vessels. Hopefully the two will show fairly similar results. Where we do have big problems sometimes is where a company regards itself as having a very high standard of management, and we look at the SIRE reports and realise There's almost a wall between the company and the ship because the ship isn't even following the procedures. They're the companies we tend to want to go and visit and look at in much more detail, particularly if they're being proposed for long-term business, so we can actually understand what is going wrong.
The vetting department's objective is to keep the oil company exposed to an acceptable level of risk. The self-assessed stage level in the operator's TMSA submission is likely to play an important role. If they believe there's a need, an OCIMF member may want to audit their vessel operator's TMSA submissions. This will involve their vetting experts examining the operator's management records and interviewing staff. The TMSA elements will provide the agenda. The objective is not to catch out the operator, but to ensure that the continual improvement that is essential to the TMSA system is maintained. Some OCIMF members may ask additional questions, going beyond the obligations of TMSA.
When we're going to visit a company to do a TMSA review, the advice we'd really give them is to tell the truth and be open and honest and show us how they really do things. What we're looking for is the drive and the commitment to want to do it properly. We're not looking for perfection. We would accept a company that may not have all the systems that we're looking for, but actually wants to put them in place, and we're quite happy to work with them to help them do so. On that basis, we'd be happier to work with a company like that and use their ships than a company that claimed they were absolutely wonderful but really didn't show us the commitment and drive from the senior management.
The aim of TMSA is not for OCIMF members to take control of the operator's ships. The aim is to offer guidance on industry best practice and encourage improvement in management methods. TMSA is designed to provide the personnel in the shore office with a way of measuring and improving their management systems. These improvements will be included as part of the ship's safety management systems. It is these systems that are important to the ship, rather than TMSA itself. It's possible for those on the ship to comply with TMSA without being aware of it. In any case, TMSA should not mean additional work for the ship.
It's important for ships officers to be aware of TMSA because the key to any successful operation is teamwork, and every member of the team should have the overall picture in his mind when he is carrying out an intended task. For this reason, TMSA is mainly shore-based management, but also the ship staff have an important role to play in that they are part of the team and they need to be aware of what are the requirements.
Those on board must ensure that all the correct procedures are carried out, including maintenance, safety drills and safety inspections. Good records must be kept of all these activities.
Those on board can play a very important role in maintaining the company's TMSA profile by, at all times, fully conforming to and complying with the company's policies and procedures in a disciplined manner. They can help the process by maintaining their own self-assessment on board the vessel of all their defects, all their deficiencies, all the systems that they find gaps in, and their plans that they have to correct these, which should, of course, involve the office staff.
A new captain from your...
TMSA recommendations may mean more training opportunities for ship's personnel and more effective auditing of the ship by the shore office. The personnel in the shore office will need definite evidence that the procedures have been properly carried out within the appropriate time. This is likely to increase the level of communication between the ship and the shore. In fact, one of the benefits of TMSA is that it will bring the management team on the ship and on the shore closer together.
TMSA has increased the communication between the ship and the shore. Many years ago, before the TMSA came into place, the management and safety meetings were held on board and the minutes were filed. The superintendents would then check the minutes during their visits on board. With the TMSA in place now, the minutes of the safety meetings and management meetings are sent to shore office by mail as attachments within email, and the superintendent is able to be a part of the team of the shipboard management. Similarly, the plant maintenance system is exported more often to the office, and the superintendent is able to provide input to the ship and be an active member of the team in planning the ship's maintenance.
There are two elements that directly address the ship. Element 4B, reliability and maintenance standards, and 9A, shipboard monitoring. Element 4B deals with the percentage of outstanding maintenance across the fleet. It means that for chief engineers, the spotlight is on how much maintenance is left to be done outside the planned time. The chief may need to discuss and reach agreement with the shore personnel over which work must be prioritised. This can be seen as a benefit, as the more accurate the timing of the maintenance, the less stress there is on engine room personnel, and the more able they are to deal with the minor breakdowns that occur on every ship.
Before the TMSA came in place, the SMS systems nominated a few equipments as critical equipment and a few operations as critical operation. This was not a dynamic system. With the TMSA in place, we now have risk assessment included within the SMS system, and with the risk assessment in place, the system is much more dynamic, and we are able to actually determine various critical equipments and critical operations and take the special precautions that are now required for these equipments and operations.
Element 9A is concerned with shipboard monitoring of safety management.
Do you think these valves should be open and closed all the time?
It deals with the activities of the safety officer and the promotion of a safety culture. Accurate records of all safety meetings and training must be kept and made available for the shore office. All of this should be normal ship's procedures. Experience has shown that developing and maintaining a safety culture depends on the total commitment of those at the top. If the managing director cares about safety, the superintendents will care about safety. It will follow that the senior management team on board cares about safety. Then everyone on board will be aware of the importance of safety and will willingly base everything they do on safe working practices. TMSA seeks to promote this process. The objective of TMSA is to provide a basis for continual management improvement. Once the system of monitoring the KPIs becomes established, it provides those on board with simple and effective ways of measuring their performance. In this way, TMSA can improve compliance with management systems and improve performance while taking less time. TMSA is a guide for best practice for ships operators. It is a tried and tested tool to assist them measure and improve their own management systems.
The objectives of TMSA are to try to encourage companies to focus on operational excellence and industry best practices within their vessel management systems, rather than just focusing on minimum statutory compliance.
The TMSA programme has introduced a standard framework with which ship operators can assess their management systems. It has also provided them with the ability to improve those systems, not only for their own benefit, but also for the benefit of industry and their vetting decisions.
Certainly the introduction of TMSA has benefited the management of ships. TMSA has reinforced and required us to document the risk assessment, management of change, measurement and analysis in a way in which we didn't do previously.
It's given the shore staff an idea of where we want to be, where we are and where we want to be. That is reflected when they go on board the ships. It's reflected in day-to-day operations. So it is an information flow between both the ship and the office on a daily basis. And TMSA, I think, has encouraged this. There definitely has been a lot of benefit in improving efficiency and safety with TMSA.